Yes! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Lowered Expectations. Thanks for lowering your expectations and hanging out with me here. I do appreciate it. A big thanks to everyone who's been supporting me here on YouTube, everyone who's been getting involved in the comment section and supporting me, and everyone who's been following along for this hectic journey on trying to burn waste motor oil in my diesel heater. In my last video, I told you guys that I was going to try to catch up. I've been falling behind and I want to get up to current day. This video doesn't get us all the way there, but I'm doing 3 tests in this video that spanned over 2 weeks. So this will help us catch up a little bit. The first test is going to be something that I actually tried before, but I didn't document very well and a bunch of people have been asking for it. So we're going to redo that test, and that is standing the heater on its end to see if we can get the stuff to fall down into the heat exchanger instead of building up inside of the burn tube. The second test is going to be insulating the metal fuel line on its way into the burn chamber, because even though I'm heating the fuel, a bunch of people have speculated that it's actually cooling off as it goes into the burn chamber, and so my heating it actually isn't doing any good. And the third thing is going to be the first test, or the first use of my new controller and ECU. I'm not going to do a detailed video about this. I think I will do a separate video where I show installing it. That might be helpful for somebody who is thinking about upgrading their ECU and controller. And yeah, that's what is going to be in this video. So safety warning, quick on this one. Don't do what I'm doing. Use your heater as it's supposed to be used. And I think that's it. Let's get into the video. I'll see you guys at the end, if not sooner. So this is what I have. I'm going to start it up on the diesel. The heater is standing on end, so the fan is here blowing down through the shelf. The outlet comes out right there. Fuel line goes in. The fuel is being preheated. When I switch over to the waste oil mix, it is going to be, what is it? 70% waste oil, 20% diesel, and 10% gasoline. So far it seems okay, but we're only up to 28 on the body of the heater, and 60, 62. Wow, this is climbing pretty quick. I can hear it having troubles already. I don't know if you guys can hear that noise. I'll take the inlet. Oh, well, that's the noise. So it's trying to flame out already. As you guys can see, it's struggling even on diesel. So that is what it is doing. That is what it did last time. I have no explanation whatsoever for why it's doing this. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. The fuel is running in. It should, if anything, burn cleaner if it's spreading out. If you guys have some sort of idea as to why it would do this, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of interesting guesses, but I don't know. I ran it from whenever that was last night, the last time I saw you guys, until about 7 this morning, so it ran for several hours. It was still running, but it was very smoky in the garage, so I shut it down. The last time I ran it, I didn't run it long enough to actually see what was happening inside when I ran it like this, so we should be able to get some sort of idea of what is actually going on. The smell of burnt or partially burnt motor oil is very thick in here right now. I can taste it. Like literally, I can taste it. The exhaust has a lot of junk built up inside of it. The exhaust pipe has as well. This is kind of like tar. Pretty clean inside here, but that's not surprising because this is actually the way it was sitting. So anything that tried to run out of here would have just went the other way. I didn't tell you guys, but I tried an experiment with the gasket. I actually used 3 layers of gasket to try to help insulate the chamber from the heat exchanger. The test didn't go well enough to actually get that data. You can also see I'm running an insulator on here. Somebody recommended that I do that, so I actually did that quite a while ago. I don't know if I actually mentioned it at all, but I have been doing that. The fuel comes in right here, so closest to the camera is where the fuel comes in, and you can see that is where that buildup is. So it was coming in and running out immediately. Let's pull this apart and take a look inside. There we go. All right, not too bad there. Not too bad at all. So that stuff just fell out of there. We might have been better off without this thing at all. The bottom of the burn chamber basically has a whole bunch of carbon in it. It's normally a, what do you call that? Concave dome shape or hemispherical shape. And yeah, now it's pretty full of all sorts of carbony junk. Oh, that, okay. So there is a top layer of it that was hollow, kind of like ice with no water underneath it. It just cracked away. And then underneath that is very disgusting goo. I've had several different people tell me different versions of this, but basically I'm wasting my time heating the oil if I don't insulate this pipe, because what's going to happen is this pipe sits on the outside of the heater, just like that, something like that, and the air blows over it. The fan actually sits right here. This air blows over it, and so it is going to cool off the fuel before it actually goes into the chamber. And in order to make sure that we get accurate numbers, I have a thermocouple that is actually taped to the outside of the steel line, right where it goes in by the glow plug. The things that people have told me, I should use a piece of fuel line with a slot cut in it, and that will do the job. But I've also been told that I need some sort of insulating sock, and so I have that as well. I'm going to use these at the same time. I got the burn chamber in with the insulation on. It was quite tricky. I don't imagine it'll go on and off too many times before destroying that insulation because it is quite a tight fit. Okay, so let me take down these numbers. We got 206, 102, 178, 179. Now all what we need to do is remove the insulation and continue on with this test. So I'll see you guys when I have the insulation off. Again, 208. Burn chamber of, well, we'll call it 183. Make sure we plug this in the right way. 92, 93. So we'll call it 92 without insulation. There you have it, folks. Putting insulation on the metal part of the fuel line actually does increase the temperature a little bit. I don't know that it's worth it. At the most, we saw 10 degrees. We had 102 to 92 Celsius of the fuel line. And at the least, we only had 4 degrees between the fuel line. So 98 with the insulation and 94 without. So overall, if you gain 10 degrees Celsius in the temperature of the fuel line, is that going to change things a whole lot? Probably not, but it's definitely not going to hurt. So I will probably put the insulation on there. I probably won't do it in the exact same way. Maybe I will, but anyway, that is the result of that test. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I got a remote, which is the same as my other remote that I got with my other controller that you guys probably haven't seen. And I got this and the ECU. Let's hope that this stuff works. The next clips that you're about to see are basically me getting so excited about having a new controller and ECU that I forgot that I was in the middle of a test and that my heater flamed out. So I take it apart and this is what I find inside. That is pure nasty right there. The oil running down the outside of the burn chamber. And because I've stood it on end, there's actually oil pooling inside there. That is nasty. I didn't want to have to deal with that nasty oily mess, so I decided to put the heater back together exactly as it was without cleaning any of it out. I then promptly forgot that I had done this. Even though I don't want to shut this down while it's working good, I am going to shut it down now. The burn chamber temperature is about 230. The body of the heater is 208. And I want to get a look inside to see what is going on in there while it's working good. Also, I'm going to shut it down while it's burning the waste oil mix because I don't want it to clean out by using the diesel. I want to see what's actually going on in there right now. So, all right, I'm just remembering that this was a complete disaster when I put it back together. There was a huge amount of oil, actually liquid oil and a bunch of garbage in here, so that's probably not too bad considering what it looked like, but that is what that looks like. I'm going to put the chamber on. I thought I would show you guys where I got this stuff from. So here it is. Metal mesh. It's like a Chinese finger trap type thing that just sat inside of this insulating tube. So far, I have to say that this is very impressive. This is what I'm talking about. I've got a burn chamber temperature of 255. Let's see if the camera can pick up on that. 258 we're at now, which is unheard of. I started off with a fan speed, max fan speed of 5,000 RPM and a max hertz of 4. And I've slowed it down to 3.8. It is maintaining 250 Celsius. I've had recommendations from other people to run it no more than 3. So I'm gonna turn it down to 3. I'm gonna slowly turn it down and see where the burn chamber starts losing temperature. But I think I'm already past that point. I decided to bump the hertz of the pump up to 3.2. And I came back, it was 288 Celsius on the outside of the burn chamber. And now it's 307 and it's still climbing, so I am going 308. I'm gonna turn it down to 3.1 hertz and see what happens there. Show you guys what I'm talking about. 308. Let's check the temperature of the fuel line while we're here, while I have the camera. .91, that is very good. We are at 321. It went from 320 to 321 when I looked at it. 323. I was just doing some research, reading up on oil, and I looked for the highest temperature synthetic. So let's see. The upper limit for most mineral-based oils is 250 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. We are at 606 Fahrenheit. This remote, as soon as I turned it on, it's not connected to anything, but it would tell me the temperature of the heater body. And then when I click to the next setting, it would tell me, I think the voltage. So it would tell the heat range that you were on, the body temperature, or the heat exchanger temperature, and the voltage. When you were on the heat exchanger temperature, it would tell you the heat exchanger temperature, but when you would click to the next ones, it would actually tell you what the air temperature was. So that could give me a big idea of if anything was happening out here that shouldn't be happening. I would set the remote next to the heater, and if it got too hot, if it got over 30 degrees Celsius, I knew that stuff was getting really hot out here. This is the new remote here. Haven't even taken it out of the bag. But it is just a couple of buttons. It has on, off, up and down, and there's no display on it, so you can't, it doesn't tell you if the heater has shut off, it doesn't tell you if it's running. I am going to see you guys tomorrow. I'll fire this thing up and we'll give it another run. I kind of almost want to pull it apart and look inside of it just after that short time running, but I think for this test, I am just going to continue running it as long as it's running okay. I ended up screwing up and kind of putting the heater into a situation that it couldn't recover from. What happened was I switched it over to diesel, went in the house for half an hour, set a timer, forgot that I had switched it over to diesel, so when I came back out, the temperature on the burn chamber was quite low. It was 184 or 185, which made me panic. So I went into the controller, not thinking that I had switched it over to diesel, and I went into the controller and upped the hertz on the pump up to 3.5. Then, soon after, I noticed that I had actually been running it on diesel, so I was like, oh, I've been running it on diesel this whole time, and that's why the temperature dropped. What I'll do is I'll just switch it back over to waste oil. So I switched it back over to the waste oil, but I did it immediately. Normally when I switch it over to waste oil, I switch the waste oil on for 5 seconds, and then I do the diesel for 5 seconds, waste oil for 10 seconds, diesel for 5 seconds. But I didn't do that this time. I just switched it over, and that caused an already cool burn chamber to get more waste oil because I had already cranked the pump speed up. And yeah, so put it into a situation that it couldn't recover from. It just kept cooling off the burner. So anyway, I'm trying to restart it right now. We'll see what happens. That's what the burn chamber looks like. And even though it did run for quite a while, keep in mind that that is how much fuel it burnt. So even though it ran for quite a while, it was running at a low pump rate, and so it didn't consume a lot of fuel. Well, there you have it. We have successfully traveled ahead in time and are that much closer to a video about my new burn chamber design. I did my first tests on it last night, and I am really excited to show you guys the whole thing in detail, but that will be in a future video. If you liked what you saw, please remember to leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of this nonsense, be sure to subscribe. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Alright, I wasn't going to come back and show you guys this because it's been shown a million times, but yeah. That's not looking good, folks. That's a lot of buildup inside of this area. It's coming out pretty easily, but that's a whole lot of carbony stuff right there. And I'm pretty sure that didn't just happen in the last few minutes of use. And I'm also very certain that that didn't happen because of my little mishap of... Wow, that cleaned out easy though. Okay. So yeah, anyway, there was a lot of crap in there, and it happened over time. It didn't just occur because of my little mess up there at the end.